What is up guys, this is me, Johnny Cooper64 here with another YouTube video, and is Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy a reboot? Now some of you guys may be asking, what is a reboot? Well, a reboot means to discard all continuity in an established series in order to recreate its characters, timeline, and backstory from the beginning. You have seen this in movies like Spider-Man. There's 3 different Spider-Man series. There's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man Trilogy, the Mark Webb The Amazing Spider-Man series, and Spider-Man Homecoming. All of them portrayed by different actors and storylines. They start all over again with no continuity to another series. Reboots are actually common in the video game industry, particularly with franchises that have multiple entries in the series. Reboots in video games are used to refresh the storyline and elements of the game. But how will this work for Crash Bandicoot? Basically, this means that they have to start all over again with a new timeline and new backstory, new characters from the beginning. Also means that the video games you played before like Wrath of Cortex, Crash of Insanity, or Crash of the Titans never existed. I can already hear you guys saying, but Johnny Cooper, how can Sane Trilogy be a reboot if it includes the original trilogy and it doesn't change the storyline, the characters, only the graphics? Well, you're right, Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy just remasters the original trilogy, which is part of the main timeline, and it doesn't change anything except the graphics. But here's one thing, it could be a reboot to the Crash Bandicoot series even if it has those 3 games from the past main series. They're at the starting point, they have the original trilogy that started it all, and it's one of the best games from the whole franchise. But continue a series that has bad games like Wrath of Cortex, Titans, and Mind Over Mutant. Like, it doesn't make sense to continue the series, since how will Crash go from this to this to back to this? Now for those who don't know, the main timeline or main series to the Crash Bandicoot franchise is Crash Bandicoot 1, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex, Crash of Insanity, Crash of the Titans, and Crash Mind Over Mutant. Why will they continue a series after Mind Over Mutant? Like, it makes no sense at all. Like, they'll have to make like another mutant game, and nobody wants that. So if Sane Trilogy is a reboot, then this will only mean that Crash 1, Crash 2, and Crash 3 are the only ones in the main timeline right now, erasing the other games from the main series. I know Twinsanity is a very good game, but they could make like some sort of idea to that game in like a future Crash game. They could say that games after Warped never happened, and by doing this is by making Crash Bandicoot 4 a true Crash, and continuing the series / story after Warped. But isn't Crash Bandicoot 4 the Wrath of Cortex? Well, in some countries, Wrath of Cortex is known as Crash Bandicoot 4 as the 4th installment to the series. But here's the thing. But the thing about games like Wrath of Cortex is that it is a carbon copy of Crash Bandicoot Warped. It includes a similar warp room to Warp and the elevator thingy to the extra warp room. The electricity thing that prevents you from entering those levels, you had to earn the power-ups again, even though you already gained them in Warped. And the levels just feel empty in general, with lots of unnecessary vehicle levels. Wrath of Cortex is just copying Warped, and it doesn't really feel like a real Crash Bandicoot 4. More like a Crash Bandicoot Warped remake. If they make a Crash Bandicoot 4, they could say what happened to Cortex after he turned to a baby, and basically continue the story from Warped, and erasing the other games that came after Warped, making a new timeline, a new series to the Crash Bandicoot timeline, with making new levels, new enemies, new bosses, new characters, and new story. Starting with Sane Trilogy to a new game, which will be known as Crash Bandicoot 4, plus they won't have to make the same mistake with Wrath of Cortex, because the developers that made Wrath of Cortex had no experience in making a Crash Bandicoot game, but Vicarious Visions had to remaster the whole trilogy from the ground up. You know, their experience with Crash Bandicoot better than any developer that made Crash games besides Naughty Dog. Plus they said that they were interested in making a new Crash game. Also, they could keep characters like old characters from previous games like Nina Cortex and Crunch Bandicoot. Just have them have a new origin story and we'll be good. Say, but how will we know if Sane Trilogy is a reboot? Well, the next new Crash game will show. It will show if it takes place after Mind Over Mutant, and if it does, then this means that the game takes place in the original main timeline. Or if it shows Dr. Neo Cortex transforming back to a man after the events of Warped, then we can confirm that Sane Trilogy is a start to a new timeline, and it will confirm that it is a reboot. I'll be talking more about Crash Bandicoot 4 in a future video, so let me know in the comment section below what you guys will like to see for a new Crash game, and I'll make sure to feature ideas in a future video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Will you guys like to see a real Crash Bandicoot 4? Is Sane Trilogy a reboot? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.